$4.9 billion. That's how much Stellantis and LG Energy Solution are investing in an electric vehicle battery plant. It's set to create 2,500 jobs in the Windsor region and is expected to be fully operational by 2025. François-Philippe Champagne is the Minister of Industry. He's in Windsor. Minister, good to have you back on the program.
Thank you very much.
The announcement today, the EV battery plant, I wanted to ask you for some specifics about it because the news release talked about government investment but didn't specify to the tune of what exact number. Why not?
Well, first of all, let me say this is a home run for Canada. It's our first gigafactory. You mentioned an investment of $5 billion. We'll be producing in Canada for the first time hundreds of thousands of batteries, creating 2,500 new jobs and inserting Canada, cementing our position in global supply chain in North America. With respect to the amount, we'll be a strategic partner. We're just in the final round of negotiation with the company, but I think you would appreciate, Vashi, this is a highly competitive sector, so some of these terms are sensitive commercially. But what I can tell you is that we were in competition with a number of states in the United States and in Europe. But we won on the basis of the talent, on the fact that we have proximity to resources, market, and the assembly plant. This is really what differentiates Canada in this global competition for this gigafactory.
Just though on the sensitive nature that you're referring to, I did hear the Premier say something like hundreds of millions of dollars today. So how sensitive is it? And I'm just asking on behalf of Canadians who I get the pros of the investment that you're making, but I think it's fair for Canadians to wonder how much of their money is being invested.
Appreciate, and I mean, it would be very much in line with what we've done in the auto sector. And I think that I can assure you, Vashi, the return on investment is great because when you have a plant like that, you're cementing the relationship between Stellantis, LG, Canada, and Ontario for decades to come. So we'll come to that when it's the right time, but I'm sure you appreciate we're not going to stop with this one. We're looking at other things, and obviously, there's an intense competition. On this one, we won, and I'm very proud of that because that's the first gigafactory we can land in Canada. But certainly, we'll disclose as much as possible whilst maintaining the competitive advantage of Canada in this sector. But one thing I can tell you, we did not win on the money side. We won because of the talent that we can offer and the ecosystem that we have built over decades in Canada.
So then if it was because of all of that you lay out, then why is it so difficult or why is it so important that you not tell Canadians yet? And if we take you at your word that there are these sensitive reasons around it, and I understand that, at what point will you tell Canadians how much money you invested?
Well, we'll say what we've done with other auto sector deals. I'm sure you appreciate, Vashi, there's an intense competition. The Americans have been putting billions of dollars of incentives on the table. Same thing in Europe. What I can tell you, this is very much in line and what we've done in the auto sector for decades. And that's why I'm very confident that this is a good deal for Canada because the rippling effect of that for SMEs, for workers, for jobs, for generations to come is great. For this time being, it's sensitive because we are negotiating, as you would appreciate, to see what else we can get in Canada. And this is very much in line with the practice in the automotive sector.
Okay, you mentioned the Americans, and I actually have a question for you on the subject of electric vehicles and the Americans. Joe Biden's Build Back Better legislation, it included a tax credit for Americans who buy electric vehicles that have American parts and are made by American labor. That legislation never went ahead, but the president has promised to bring it back in smaller chunks. Has your government received any assurances that the president won't pursue that tax credit going forward, effectively shutting out Canadian labor and parts?
Well, I think today demonstrate that we can attract these investments. We've been in talk, as you would expect, with the White House. We've been in talk, obviously, with the companies, Stellantis and LG. We've been able to make the case for Canada. We've been able to tell them that, trade issues have existed with our friends in the United States for generations. I've always said to our American friends, the real big prize for us is how can we innovate more together? How can we manufacture more together? How can we sell more together to the rest of the world? And that's exactly what you're saying, is that the announcement today is a further integration of the Canadian auto sector with the American auto sector. And the interesting thing is that the batteries that are going to be made in Windsor are not only for Stellantis in Canada, but for Stellantis in North America. And this is very much on the back of the announcement you saw with BASF and GM POSCO, which are going to serve the North American market. So we're cementing our position, and in the most integrated sector, which is the auto sector between our two countries, for me, that bodes well for the future, because we've always said to our friends down south that the supply chain is so integrated that we need to work together, and today's a great example.
And I hear that, and I certainly understand that you and your government have made that point. But my question is more whether the point is being received. Has your government received an assurance from the White House that Canada will get a carve-out should they pursue that EV tax credit down the line?
Well, we'll continue to have discussion, Vashi. We had discussion at the time. Like you said, it's no longer at least in front of Congress. We'll take the appropriate step. As you know, we have a good track record of finding a way to work with our American friends, and this is going to be no different. And the fact that you have two of the largest companies in the sector which have decided to put their plant north of the border, for me, should give a very positive sign to other investors, to the Canadian business community, that stability, predictability, the fact that we have proximity to market resources is really making a difference. And today is a proof point, because you don't land a gigafactory if people have doubts as to whether Canada will be integrated in the North American market. And today's a great example of that.
Okay, Minister, just before I let you go, I do want to ask you about the other big story this week, and that's the deal that your government struck with the NDP. And in particular, knowing that you represent a riding in Quebec, I wanted to ask you about reaction today from Quebec's Premier François-Philippe, who said that it's totally unacceptable that the federal government start managing the healthcare system in provinces, pointing to some of the aspects of the deal, like, for example, dental care. Why did you make a deal with the NDP that could infringe on provincial jurisdiction?
Well, I think this is all about stability and predictability. This is something that people like. I think Canadians value that. I think the business sector certainly values stability and predictability. Whilst I respect the opinion of the Premier of Quebec, this is about making sure that we would provide the best services to Canadians. I think about senior homes, for example. We were talking about standard. There's a way to respect jurisdiction in this country while at the same time improving the service that we can provide to Canadians. And I think on the back of what we've seen in COVID, which was the most important health crisis we had in a century, I think that Canadians are looking at both levels of governments to see what can we do more together. And for me, the fact that we have this arrangement, if that allows us to provide better services for Canadians, I think Quebecers, like all Canadians, would see benefit in that.
Does that mean, though, that you're willing to, for example, hand over money to Quebec for dental care without attaching any strings to it?
Well, we'll see. The position we have to take is not really about...
Doesn't that mean that Premier Legault has an argument, though, when you don't have a concrete yes to that answer? You know, that the idea that he's worried about infringing on his jurisdiction?
Well, we're always careful about that. That's not an argument which is new, Vashi. But what I'm saying is that I'm looking at it from a patient perspective. I'm looking at it from a Canadian perspective. And as a Quebecer, I think what people want to see is both levels of governments working best together to provide the service while respecting jurisdiction. There's ways to do that. We've done that in our country before. And I'm one of those who believe that we should always work with the province. Look at what we've done today in Ontario and what we've done in Quebec in terms of attracting investment, investing in jobs, investing in growth. If we can do it on the economy, we should certainly be able to do it to improve the lives of people.
Okay, Minister, thank you for your time.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to see you very soon.
You as well. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.